All right. As I am sitting here, just for funsies. Playing around with some settings here. What's up? We have chat. We have chat. What's up? All right. So I got a little group chat going on the side of the window. So any questions, you can say hello. I'm just going to sit here and stare at the little green dot for the next 3 minutes. As I wait to get going. That should be exciting for everyone coming on the scene. So what's this guy doing? Just sitting there, staring at the green light. Anyway, now I'm just making it weird. Da, 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 da. All right. Hopefully the little calendar item worked. Life is good. Everything is working. Sweet. Little what's up shout out to the people. Oh, never mind. That already went out to Twitter. Amazing. Let's see. Cool. There we go. Boom. Message out to the internets, the interwebs. And kill that off. I see one viewer. I wonder if I am that viewer. I'm just sitting here watching myself. It's good times. Exciting stuff. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put up a blank mind map here. Boom. Mind map. There you go. That's it. Show's over. All right. I'm going to go. I'm going to start recording this sucker. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. Oh, look at that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Going. All right. Looks like folks are popping in. How's it going? Hopefully things are going well. You see me looking over here and not at you. That's because I have another monitor over here where I'm monitoring all the things. And no, that wasn't just a humongously bad pun. I actually do have a monitor over here where I'm monitoring all the things. I fired up the chat also in the live broadcast. Frankly, I'm not completely sure what it looks like from your end. However, if you are in a window and you have chat available, or you click on, let me show you this. This will get weird for a second, but right, like you hover over here on the left, there's this little chat thing here, like if it's good, right? Click that, post a little something in the chat, say hello, and I'm not all lonely over here by myself in the basement doing a Google Hangout. So, all right, let's get this party started because it is 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and this is when I said I would start. So let's get started, my friends. First off, this is being recorded. So yeah, there you go. It's being recorded. I have nothing else further to say about that. So anyway, good afternoon or good morning or good evening, depending on where you are. I'm Robert Dempsey, and thank you for joining me for my mind mapping, anyway, my live online workshop about mind mapping. So if you have been curious about mind mapping, what it can do for you, or what you can do with it, then this is definitely the live online workshop that you want to be a part of. Now, I call this also a live online workshop because, yeah, like, I've attended a ton of these things where it's just some person talking at you, telling you, oh, you should do this, you should do that, whatever. That's like pretty boring to me. So in the blog post on my website, I had shared some links to be able to download mind mapping software for yourself. And let me actually, before we get started, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to screen share. There you go. So you no longer see me. So let me fire up another window here. It's Google Chrome. And first off, if you're on a Mac, then I highly recommend the application that I know and love, which is called MindNode. And this is MindNode right here. However, that's like $40. Maybe you're like, I'm not totally invested in this mind mapping thing. But if you have a Mac, then I do definitely recommend MindNode. And you can visit mindnode.com to get your copy there, or go like to the App Store, the Mac App Store, Apple App Store. Anyway, yeah, so that'll work. Otherwise, there is another mind mapping software that for some reason that didn't come up because I had the wrong website, so that's the reason, called Xmind. So I've also used Xmind. Xmind does work on Windows, it works on Linux, and it works on a Mac as well. So if you don't currently have any mind mapping software, I highly recommend you either purchase MindNode and go from there. I believe it comes with like a 7-day trial if you download it from their website, or try Xmind. They have both paid and free versions for you right there. So that is that for the software part. And if at any time you have any questions during this workshop, let me know. If you are trying to figure out like how to use mind mapping for a very specific purpose, maybe you have something specific in mind, then definitely let me know. Put it in the chat in the Hangout window or whatnot, and I am more than happy to answer those questions for you. So before we get into it and look at a whole lot of different types of mind maps and how to use mind maps for a variety of purposes, kind of wanted to give you some background on how I got into mind mapping in the first place. And I think the best way to describe not necessarily how I got into it, but really why I love it so much and I'm very enthusiastic is when I worked at this company called IST, I worked with this this awesome lady by the name of Emily Wyatt. And Emily would say to me, we'd be having these conversations, and she'd look at me and she'd say, Rob, I love the fact that you're so stream of consciousness. And that's the way I talk a lot of times, where when the thoughts start flowing and you want to get them out quickly, whether it's in in a meeting, or you're brainstorming a book or a blog post or a business idea, or whatever it is, the thoughts can come typically a lot faster than we can put them down. And as someone with a heavy software engineering background, where things are very structured and there's set ways of doing things, and someone that was also taught for many years in school to do things in an outline format. So very, the thing, right? Bullet points, and like, here's your major points, maybe the major bullets, and you start digging in. I found that was really restrictive for a number of reasons. The first reason is that I would, I'd write something, or I start creating my outline, and then I would say, oh, well, actually this idea isn't just a sub idea. Let me make it kind of like move it up the chain. And then you got to copy and paste and all this stuff. And so moving things around became a lot more difficult for me, in terms of trying to keep within the traditional outline structure of bullet points and just shift things around a lot, right? So a traditional outline, not so easy to move everything around. So that's number one. Number two is also, again, we can tend to think a lot faster than we can type. And if you are trying to both get a lot of ideas out onto paper, and you're constantly rearranging things as you go, kind of a self-editing as you go, then it can really slow you down big time. And so really these two things, the combination of these two things, is the main reason that I got into mind mapping in the first place. So if you have encountered issues in really trying to be able to get your ideas out in a faster way, whether that's, again, if you want to, you're brainstorming or creating an outline for a book, or brainstorming, or even I've seen people, and I've used it for this purpose too, like kind of finding what it is about you, or you're really just trying to figure out things about yourself, and you start just like throwing things out there. Maybe you're like, oh, well, I'd like to start a business. What am I going to do? Start writing down, oh, well, yeah, this is my personality type. These are ideas that I have. You start putting down ideas, all sorts of stuff. Then mind mapping is, I would suggest, really one of the best ways that you can go with that. So with that background kind of laid out, then let me share my screen again, and let's get into some mind maps. So for this workshop, I'm going to be using MindNode Pro. Again, I'm on a Mac, and that's my mind mapping application of choice. However, I did also want to share a number of mind maps, pictures of mind maps that didn't require any computer whatsoever. And some of these are crazy. I will say that I cannot design to save my life, which is why I love just using applications that help me to make my things look pretty, because I can't really draw very well, but don't have to worry about that. However, if you are a very artistic person, then you can go full bore and create mind maps such as this. So quick Google image search on mind maps will get you here to a lot of these. The first thing that I really want to point out on this, pretty striking, is there's really no set format for how you do it. So here we have a mind map that is very simple. A mind map always starts out with the central idea and then branches out from there. So you'll always see some kind of central idea. Here, it's literally just a circle, very straightforward lettering, and then you have all of your branches coming out of that. But then we get something like Crazy Town time management here, which you have, oh, time, look, oh, they were awesome. They got like a Big Ben style thing here. So clock tower totally goes in with time. Key issues, they have a key, let's see, choices, decision, yeah, coffee, slow down, break. So coffee goes kind of with a coffee break, right? Mind Tools has a little brain here, so that's pretty cool, right? So there's really there's no set way to do a mind map other than it starts with a central idea. I mean, here's a mind map about how to create mind maps, but it starts with a central idea and then it branches out from there. So there's some examples One that really hits a lot closer to home too for me is my 10-year-old daughter created this mind map. So my older daughter's name is Ptolemy. She's 10. My younger daughter's name is Virginia. She's 2.5. And so Ptolemy created this little tiny mind map about her sister, Virginia. So here's Virginia, sister is right in the middle. That's the main idea. The branches, hey, she loves to read because she loves books, especially Curious George. And she is messy at the table. Completely true. So here we have a mind map created by now 10-year-old, but a 9-year-old at the time. And there you go. That's a mind map. So again, they don't have to be super complicated or anything like that. So what I wanted to do to get the creative juices flowing for you is to give you a number of examples of different mind maps that I have created. And so the first one that I want to start off with is some business stuff. So in 2017, after I left my last full-time job and I started to brainstorm, okay, well, what does my next business look like? Then I came up with kind of a 3-tiered model: building, consulting, training. Really the details of what's on here doesn't matter necessarily a huge amount. The biggest idea here that I want to show you is I started off, okay, what is this mind map all about? Well, I'm trying to come up with a business model for 2017. Okay, so what are the main kind of themes? What are the main services that I'm going to be offering? Well, building of what? Machine learning applications, consulting. Okay, what am I going to be consulting about? Well, helping teams build and implement machine learning applications. And then I also wanted to provide training. So, okay, what forms does that training take? Well, I published a book back in 2015, Python Business Intelligence Cookbook. That kind of ties in to some of the machine learning work that I do. And then I'm also co-authoring a book that's currently titled Building Machine Learning Pipelines with my friend Brandon Rose. So that's one form of training. Other forms of training: online courses, in-person training, also speaking. And speaking even has additional branches of conferences, meetups, and also some internal events. So that would be like internal events at companies. So you can see here, you just start off, right, putting the ideas out here. Okay, what are the 3 things I'm going to offer? What exactly does that mean? And you start to flesh out your ideas as you build out the branches of a mind map. So that's a little one that I had for a business model. Also, you can use these things for like, a blog strategy. This is going to take a second to come up here. So this one gets here, and if I zoom out, so let's say zoom to fit, boom, then you might not even be able to read that. So I will zoom back in. But this is what the whole thing looks like. So in trying to create my blogging strategy for 2018, I started with a very customer-centric focus of, okay, well, what outcomes do my customers want? And so if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to come up with, or even just a marketer, and you're inside of a business, or you just happen to be having to do marketing for yourself or whatnot, then you start with, what outcomes do my customers want? Well, for me, that was get a job in data science. Okay, cool. So what obstacles, though, are they facing in getting this outcome? And so then I started brainstorming. So as I'm going through and doing marketing research, I start fleshing out this mind map. One of the first things I came across was this: there's an overwhelming amount of information out there in the data science field. Okay, but what does that really mean? Well, it means that it's difficult to know where to start, and people don't know what to do, as they don't actually know what is possible. So those are 2 aspects of this overwhelming amount of information. Those 2 alone give me a number of things to be able to start talking about. And then you can see that I also said subtopics here, which I never actually fleshed out, but those are kind of like placeholder branches on the mind map itself. Next, I found another obstacle was there's an overwhelming amount of technology out there. Okay, well, that in of itself is a very, very broad That's a very broad topic. So what might be some subtopics of this overwhelming amount of technology? Well, number one is there's a huge amount of jargon. Okay, well, what are some ideas for potential products or blog posts that I could have around there? Well, actually, this mind map is all about blogging. So what might I be able to say about this overwhelming amount of terminology? Sorry, I said technology earlier. I just realized that. But here's overwhelming amount of terminology. So there's all this jargon. Well, maybe I can write a blog post about demystifying the jargon of data science, kind of like taking all of these data science terms and writing them out in plain English. That could be super helpful to people. Just a couple other branches of this before we look at another mind map here is, well, another obstacle is knowing what skills are needed. I've found that people that are very new to data science, maybe they're changing careers. I myself went from software engineering into data science, and it can be very difficult knowing what skills are actually needed to be able to be an effective data scientist. Or if you're talking to marketers, right? How can you be an effective marketer or salesperson or entrepreneur, right? All of these things that you and I do require skills. And for people brand new, they probably don't know, or they might not know what skills are actually needed to be able to do that job. So this gives you an opportunity for a wealth of information or a wealth of topics from which to choose when you start creating content. So some subtopics of there: software engineering, specifically Python, machine learning applications. That's one skill that you need as a data scientist. Another one is math and stats. What does that even mean? Well, machine learning algorithms, algorithm selection, algorithm application, and then finally data communication. So those are the three sets of skills that data scientists need. But again, it's going back to an obstacle that people face in trying to get a job in data science. So not necessarily trying to tell you how to do marketing or give you really marketing strategies per se. Just wanted to use this as an example of how you can start fleshing out or use mind mapping to start fleshing out ideas for, again, a business model or blog content so far. Also, again, if you have any questions about anything, I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself and actually talk during the Hangouts, but if you want to do that, definitely be my guest. Stop me at any time, or you can use the group chat window and pop something in there as well. All right, so we've looked at business stuff quite a bit, but what about creating a product? So let's say that you have an idea for something that you want to build, and you got to figure out, okay, well, what exactly is that thing going to entail? Well, I got you covered right here. And I am folding all these nodes just so we can focus on kind of one thing at a time. A lot of these mind maps or the mind mapping software, as you flesh it out, kind of works like that, where you can fold these nodes, which is cool because you can then focus on digging into one node at a time. So very cool stuff. So I had an idea to create this guide to implementing machine learning. So first, when I started filling out this mind map, I didn't just dig all into it. You know, I start off at the very high level. So what do I actually want in this guide? Well, I need to have a name. I can brainstorm some names. Maybe there's a title, subtitle. It's going to need an introduction. I want to tell people about my business and what it is we do and what we can do for people. I want to let people know what they can actually expect from reading this guide. And then finally, something that I come up with called the MTAC framework. I use this framework that I developed to basically help people to have a deeper understanding of, or a wide understanding of a very complicated topic. So when I started creating my materials, then I use the framework basically to guide how I'm going to how I'm going to actually flesh out the stuff that I'm talking about, either in a guide, in an online course, in whatever. So that's how I ultimately create, create my products, is from there. So start off, okay, here's the guide name, title, subtitle. Okay, great. An introduction. So what do I want to actually tell people in the introduction? Well, going to talk to them about how to make investments in machine learning. And then I start fleshing out, okay, well, what does that mean? Great, go from there. Also, we humans operate well with frameworks. And so I'm going to tell them right off the bat, hey, I'm going to actually provide you with a framework that we've developed over years, and it can help you out. So here I just start putting what I want to actually include in the introduction itself. Then I say, all right, what do I want to talk about with my business? And then what can you expect today? And then you get into the real meat of the, of the material itself. So here I'm going to fold the nodes again, just so we can focus on one of these things at a time. So first off, I want to provide the mindset, talking about providing this framework to help make decisions around building the machine learning pipeline. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, boom, we've got another framework here, report framework. What's that stand for? And then how does that actually help someone that is going to be using this guide that I am creating? So got risk tolerance, expectations, product. But again, the whole concept of mind mapping is, as you're putting your ideas out there, you just start filling in the blanks, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper as you create your branches. So you can think of a mind map as a really just a very more dynamic, much more flexible way of creating an outline. And in fact, a lot of the software like this can turn this, you can turn this mind map, if I say file export to, we have PDF or FreeMind, OPML, image markdown text, you can export this entire thing to text and go from there. If you want to, pull it into Word or whatever and keep going. But as you move from left to right, as you're fleshing it out and the branches of your mind map get bigger and bigger, let me zoom to fit here, right? You start adding a lot more detail to your ideas. You get a lot more specific. So you start on the left of these mind maps here with your very high level topics. Your highest level is that middle part right there. That's your main concept. And then you start branching it off into smaller or more kind of detailed pieces of the concept itself. And so I'm not going to go through all this because really honestly, there's no point in going through all the details of this mind map, but just wanted to show you some ideas of different things I've used mind mapping for and how you can also use it. Now, one of the ones that I also want to show is one that I use to take notes from books. There is a fantastic book from Scott Adams, the gentleman that created Dilbert, and it is called How to Win Bigly. And it's a very funny book, and he talks about how President Trump won the 2016 election. But what Scott Adams is talking about in there really is persuasion and persuasion techniques, specifically the persuasion techniques used by President Trump to get elected. So this to me was quite fascinating. And there's a number of ways that I could have gone about taking notes. I could use another application I use called Typora, which for me being a pretty serious geek, I can write everything in a language called Markdown. So serious geeks take notes in Markdown, I guess. Or you could use Evernote. A lot of people use Evernote for note taking as well. But I fired up a mind map and started basically fleshing out the concepts from the book and getting all those details as I was reading. So Scott Adams talks about his moist robot hypothesis. Okay, what does that mean? Well, humans are biological machines. Free will is an illusion. Humans can be programmed once you understand the user interface. He talks in the book about good writing. He provides a lot of definitions of persuasion vocabulary. So if I zoom out here, like over the course of the book, it was a ton of things. Like, he talked about a lot of stuff. And so I wanted to start capturing that. So the way that I captured that was put it all under a topic or subtopic, really, of persuasion vocabulary. And then I start fleshing out each of those vocabulary words. Now I feel like I'm back in grade school or something. But yeah, so anchor. Okay, what's an anchor? It's a thought that influences people toward a persuader's preferred outcome. All right, cognitive dissonance, confirmation bias, right? He went through a vast number of different terms and exactly what they mean. So what this allows me to do is really have all of this under one subheading, and you can quickly find what it is you're looking for and go from there. Now, one of the things that can happen as you're fleshing out your mind map is, depending on how you actually want to have your information organized once you have captured it, then you can, again, unlike a traditional outline, you have a lot of flexibility with a mind map. So for instance, what I mean is this. I currently have all of these words apparently in alphabetical order because I think they just appeared in the book in alphabetical order, or I put them that way. But here's the cool thing. So let's say I had pacing and leading way up here at the top. Oh, look at that. Actually, I just removed it and put it into anchor. Let me put it back under persuasion vocabulary, right? But I can move these things around at will. So here's pacing and leading. Okay, pacing and then leading, and I'm fleshing out what each of those means. Maybe because I am super, I don't really want to say anal, but I just said that. So, if I really want to make sure that even my mind map follows the exact same formatting of, hey, I got all the words in alphabetical order, so why don't I do everything in alphabetical order? Right, so I can move breathing up here. I can move moving up here. ST if I start going through my alphabet. So breathing, moving, speaking, thinking. Like that, or actually that's kind of an easier way to say it too, if I want to explain this to someone, right? But again, you can just move stuff around. Maybe I wanted leading up here instead, and I'm like, nope. Pacing definitely needs to go first. And then I can come back down here, put it back, and go from there, right? So a lot of cool flexibility. I can fold the nodes back. He talked about something called the persuasion stack. So big fear identity, smaller fear, etc. So these, when you're going through a book and you start putting the concepts that you're learning from the book in some type of order, then the author might lay them out in one order, but maybe it makes sense to you that something should be in a different order. Then again, it's really easy to just start moving things around as you need to. From there. However, for Scott Adams, this literally is the persuasion stack from biggest or strongest persuasion to weakest persuasion. And then he just had a whole bunch of tips that he also put there. So not going to go into all of those, just wanted to show you. Ultimately, right, we got this gigantic mind map here of all this stuff. Now, cool thing too, currently I have everything right justified. So I'm like, nah, let's move that over there because this is super enormous. I want to print this thing out on a piece of paper, and if I had everything, like everything down here, then that's not going to look good when I actually print it out. And maybe you create a mind map, you want to add it to a blog post, drag it over there. This image is going to be a lot easier to deal with on a blog post than some super long image, right? So again, once you've got it there, you can just move stuff around to your heart's content, which is really cool. So speaking of that, let me show you a little something that's a bit more personal for me as well. So in trying to think of for my personal website at robertwdempsey.com, how I can explain to people kind of more about me without having to necessarily write a whole bunch of stuff. I said, well, I love mind mapping, so why don't I create a mind map all about me and kind of just overwhelm people with information. They can dig in, they can see whatever they want, and they can go from there. So this mind map actually appears on my website, and I just start going through stuff. So I've taken a number of personal assessments. I took most of these over Christmas, this past Christmas, 2017 Christmas holiday. So DISC, Type Finder, I'm an ENTJ. I found a number of other different of typing, like type tests or personality tests, brain chemistry archetype, brain personality, fascination, etc. So I wrote all that stuff down, and then want to give people a bit more flavor. So what are my current interests? Well, I'm interested in machine learning, and I actually have a website on that, fusioncell.ai. Woohoo, that's launched. Entrepreneurship is something that's very important to me as an entrepreneur. I create a site, Exit Neutral, that's in progress, or that might actually go nowhere depending on what I decide to do. But hey, I throw it out there. I'm really interested in neuroscience, and put the little brain there. And then I've been interested in blockchain for, actually kind of before it got super popular when Bitcoin went through the roof. But I mean, who cares? Like when you got interested in blockchain, if that's one of your current interests, awesome. So wrote that down right here. And then using MindNode, and I believe Xmind has this too, you can add, just add some fun little things to it. So in Xmind, if I hover over this, they call them stickers. And so you can add stickers. So I got the little beaker for machine learning because, I'm super inventive like that. Entrepreneurship has a globe, neuroscience is a brain, because, it's about the brain. And then blockchain is cryptocurrency or, virtual currency. So I put the little dollar there. Also then just start telling people some more information, business categories that my own businesses have been in, books, places I've spoken. What else? What are some other random facts? I see a lot of people put random facts on their about page. Maybe not a lot, but some people do. So I said, hey, I will do that too, but I'll put it in my mind map. I've interviewed people and lived in Thailand and all this other kind of stuff. So ultimately, once I had all of these things as well, then I decided to group everything from right to left. So you might start reading this from the top right and then go round in a clockwise fashion. So first you can get a feel for, my personality type. So who is it that you might be dealing with? And hey, what does that actually mean? So ENTJ, it's type finder or Myers-Briggs personality. I think it's Myers-Briggs personality type. Okay, extroversion, intuition, thinking, judging. What does that even mean? And also this, when I was looking at trying to better understand myself, what I should and should not focus on with my own business, or even when you're looking at work. So whether you own your own business or you work inside of a business, or you work rather for someone else, and you're trying to figure out, what things should I really focus on? Where are my strengths? That's definitely one way to put it. Another one is your strengths are the things that you find the easiest to do. And I don't mean just like sitting on the couch doing nothing, but, because that's definitely easy to do. Well, for some people hate sitting on the couch. But anyway, that's a total digression. The point being, though, is that, for me to help even understand myself, I needed to flesh this out, have all of this information in front of me so that I could then better understand it. So what exactly does extroversion mean? It's energy style, dominant, outgoing, energetic, communicative, intuition. What does that even mean? Judging sounds very negative, but that factors into lifestyle. So it means you're ambitious and determined and organized and decisive. So what I like doing, at least with these mind maps, is, once you get the basic concepts of what each of your kind of subtopics is, or your topics from your mind map are, you just start digging in, getting enough information on these branches, essentially to where, this right here, that's the end of the line. So once I explain, yes, ENTJ, the E stands for extroversion. It refers to energy style. And this is what exactly that means for energy style. I'm kind of at the end. Now, if you're the kind of person that's like, well, dominant, what does dominant mean? Maybe I have a positive view of that word, maybe negative. Then you could keep fleshing that out if you wanted to, for sure. But otherwise, you hit the end of the branch and that's it. And then you can flesh out the rest of your branches. I want to add some additional information here just for myself so I didn't forget like where all these things came from. I didn't come up with these personality tests, but if someone ever asked me about them, I wanted to be able to provide that information. So brain chemistry archetype was created by Sinead Howard, and here's the direct link to that. What is my brain chemistry archetype? Well, it's a teacher. I love teaching, hence here we are today. Brain personality archetype was created by Kate Putnam. So you can start to see too in some of these branches where depending on what your mind map is about, while yes, it is great for just free-flowing thinking, just getting the ideas on paper, whether real or virtual, you can get them down really quickly. You can also start to template out, though, some of the things that look exactly the same. So, for instance, with these 3 archetypes, each of these branches has created by, and then I wanted to also list mine. So maybe some additional notes, right? But I could literally come and copy and paste. And what that looks like is this. So we have information. And I'm like topic 1. I'm going to have, if we go back over here, the archetypes that created by and mine. So I'll add a branch for created by, and then I'll have mine. And then when I start saying topic 2, if I can actually type topic 2, topic 3, and you can copy these additional branches and then paste and paste. So you can actually, once you see, oh, wait, I'm creating multiple topics kind of around the same, it's different information, but it's starting to have the same kind of branches. You can just copy and paste onto the other branches, and that makes it so much faster also because you don't have to type nearly as much. And what's cool with MindNode, also with XMind, is even though these topics each have their own separate color, you may have noticed that even though I copied these 2 branches and they were orange on topic 1, when I pasted them on topic 2 and 3, they took the same color scheme as the one that's already there. So that's just a really cool kind of thing that a lot of these mind mapping tools will do for you. So that's another that's another example of a mind map. This is a very kind of personal one that I've used to explain or start explaining things about myself to people. So some other ways that you can use mind mapping, and then I might start actually running out of really cool examples, are for videos, also videos that I'm watching. And so another video, or a video rather, that I saw was from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who did pass away some time ago, but he was a really prolific author, did a lot of workshops, kind of in the self-help space, if you will. So I wanted to start capturing what I was learning by watching this video, and specifically about a concept called the 4 Reallys. So the 4 Reallys by Dr. Wayne Dyer, because I didn't come up with it, so I wanted to make sure I knew the source. Well, where did it come from? It came from this YouTube video, Becoming Self-Aware and Learning What You Want. Okay, great. Well, the main lesson is, what was the main lesson of that video? Well, that's as you think, so shall you be. Now, with this, I want to give the main lesson some emphasis as well. And I did this kind of after I got down the main ideas of the on the mind map itself. And in MindNode, if you use that, you can change the shape of the branches. So rather than have it as just like a normal line and not bold, I actually came in here, selected it, I bolded it, made the shape rounded instead of just a normal rectangle, right? And that gives it more emphasis. So when you start, you come back and you look at your mind map, you're like, this is a really important concept on this mind map. And that's why I formatted it in the way that I did. But again, thinking of going from topic to more detail, continuously adding on more detail as you flesh out this mind map, then, okay, well, what is as you think, so shall you be even mean? Well, if you want to keep your attention on what you don't want will keep manifesting itself in your life. Attracting what we want in our life is our thoughts. So that's what he means, right? So again, it's just explaining it. But then again, he went into these 4 reallys, and he actually explained it really well of what he meant. The first really being what I wish for, the second being what I ask for, third, what I intend, and then the final really is passion. So it's what I really, 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 really want. And then here's the bad news, though, because that's literally the words that he used in the video. Well, what's the bad news? And then boom. So I fleshed out the bad news, and I decided to separate it from this what I really want over here, so that literally there's some physical kind of separation between these concepts. So at the end of the day, that is what this mind map looks like. So how can you use this, though? Okay, great. I've taken notes. I've captured a concept. When I look at it, maybe in not just the writing of it, it helps me to understand this information, but it gives me a much more comprehensive view. I know personally for me, when I start learning new concepts and things, I want to get a more kind of broad view of something. I want to, or at least gather as much information about the thing as possible to then see, okay, well, which of these things should I dig into? So it's just like getting into data science. Found out, oh, well, there's 3 skill sets. X, Y, and Z are required for each of these skill sets. Where do I need to fill in the blanks for myself? And then I can start digging in a lot deeper on those things, like filling in the gaps, if you will, in my knowledge of data science. And I've noticed a lot of people will tend to do that when they're learning something new. So going, though, from learning something new to sharing, then I decided, now that I have this mind map, it would be great to actually write a blog post, about this. So I did that, and just to show you how you can take a mind map of just something that you may not even think about creating anything about. You might not think, oh, hey, why don't I create a video or a blog post or some guide that I'm going to give people, whatever. Maybe you didn't think of that, but now you have. You're like, okay, I want to totally do that. Well, I go to my blog here, and door number 3 is the name of the blog. And oh, I was already there. Then here we go. So getting what you want with the 4 reallys of Dr. Wayne Dyer. So I give a little information about, background, how I even came to see this stuff, wrote it all down, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, share the mind map in the blog post. You can click on it. You can make it bigger, start to dig in if you're a reader of the blog post. All right, and go from there. So that is how, definitely one example of taking a mind map, just this, where you're just taking notes on something and actually creating another piece of content out of that you can then share with other people. And, you could share just the mind map, or you could, create an entire video, a series, an email series, whatever you want. Really, the sky's the limit, or really your imagination really is the limit there. So I have been yammering for about 45 minutes here. I've seen people pop on. I've seen people pop off. I just want to remind you that, again, if you have any questions about mind mapping or anything like that, I am more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, I want to show another example of something that I used uses for as well, and I think that this can help definitely help people quite a bit. So I have a client, Scout, and Scout is a company. And actually, here, let me show you about Scout, because they're cool. I'll drag my window back here. Right. So I knew Scout from back in my Ruby on Rails days, and they basically allow you to figure out, as it says here on the website, where your slow database queries are, memory leaks, custom code, all that kind of thing, right? They really help you to monitor the performance of your application and figure out where your applications are not doing so well. And so Scout came to me and they're like, hey, you are in the data science community, machine learning. We want to start getting into Python, and we would like to do for Python what we did before with Elixir and try and figure out, is there actually a market? We would like your help to do that. And I was like, awesome. Really like you guys. We can do some surveys and go from there and see what happens. So all of a sudden, got a client, have to come up with a strategy of, hey, how are we actually going to do this, this research? What are we going to do? Well, first thing I did was I broke out a mind map. So the first thing I started with are the goals. What is the goal of this project, right? We want to find out if there's an approachable, growing Python niche monitoring and isn't addressed well. Again, I'm not giving away anything that's like secret sauce. The survey is public. It's out there. We've written blog posts about this, so so I'm not like sharing any inside information or anything like that. All right, but that's the goal, trying to figure out, should we actually get into this thing? It's a very, very smart question to ask. So the next thing that I need to figure out is the survey questions. So what am I actually going to be asking people? So the way that I went about that was I went out there, looked at a number of surveys. I know what Scout had done previously when they ran another public survey about Elixir, and started just kind of gathering up all of these questions. And then ultimately, and what you see here is the end result of this, but ultimately they got grouped into categories. So the survey questions cover the categories of demographics, current monitoring, tech used, and what is going to actually be in the final report that we create. So, okay, demographics. Well, what does that entail? Employment, company type, job role. And here's the goal of the job roles. So when I started fleshing out each of these questions, okay, well, I want to ask them about employment. What am I going to ask them? Well, I'm going to ask them literally this question here. Which of the following categories best describes your employment status? And then that's a single choice selection. And so then I wrote out literally all of the possible choices that someone could select. Question. And I did that for each of the questions. Okay, company type. I have three different potential questions here. What's your current job role, etc. So on and on, right? And I just started fleshing out the questions, the questions, if there was a sub question, and then finally what the answers that people could select. So in this way, I could use mind mapping to design a survey. Now, one of the cool things then was when I created, or I got together all of these questions, then collaboration with the client then comes into play. So the way that we did that was fired up a Google Hangout, opened up this mind map, started going through the mind map, talked through it with them. And while we were on that call, we decided, let's not actually ask any questions about company type. And I said, okay, great, no problem. So I changed this node from blue to red, which indicated to me when I go to actually create the survey, don't put in any, or don't include the company type questions. So instead of deleting it from the mind map, I just made it red as an indication of, hey, don't go there. And then we were able to, either add or delete different answers to the questions and go from there. So in this way, I was able to design the survey and then be very collaborative with my client on what would actually ultimately go into the survey. So pretty cool stuff. Again, it's not, you can create these mind maps, not just for you, but for being able to collaborate with either, clients or anybody that you're working with. They're very, they're very great tools for being able to do that. And then finally, just to wrap up this one on surveys, okay, having a survey is great, but how are they going to know about it? Well, they won't unless you promote it. So came up with a whole promotion strategy. Gonna put it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Reddit, all the social medias. It's going everywhere, my friends. And then also want to reach out to other blogs. So as I was doing research into who might help us actually promote, or where can I, on a paid basis, promote this survey, started putting that out there too. So I found a number of people that I want to reach out to, and then I just started reaching out to them. So I created a list of bloggers, or really I found blogs and then wrote down the individual people that I want to talk to, collected email addresses or just the contact form that I would contact them through, and then I started contacting them. And then I came up with the color coding scheme that made sense to me of, okay, well, where am I at in the process of reaching out to each of these people? So green meant we were good to go. We have engaged. We are going to be doing something with these folks. Red were people that turned us down for, whatever reason. It's all good. So, these were no-goes. Blue is we're in talks. Yellow is I have reached out to them and I'm waiting to hear back from them. So once I know who I'm going to be talking to, well, what am I going to do? Well, ask if they can share the survey. Here's what they get for doing that. And then here's what they're going to need. So in this way, this mind map then became a task list as well. So pretty neat stuff. So again, a mind map going from tool that you can use to collaborate, to actually flesh out something in great detail, to using it to collaborate with someone else, to determining a whole method of promotion, to methods of promotion. I fleshed out a blog post here, what was going to go into a blog post, and went from there. So, this one thing, basically this one tool that you have at your disposal can do so much for you. So a mind map allows you to flesh out an idea. It allows you to, or with it rather, you can flesh out an idea. You can use it for collaborating with other people. You can use it as a task list. Really, the ways in which you can use mind mapping are really just, again, limited only by your imagination and kind of how you want to use it. So that's neat. So I have showed a lot of different examples of mind mapping here. We're coming up on the hour. I want to be very cognizant of the time. If you do have a question about mind mapping, just post something into the chat real quick and say, hey, I have a question. Otherwise, we can wrap up. And then if you do have any questions afterwards, at any time, let me do this. I'm going to share my screen again, just so you have this information. Because sometimes people don't like to actually ask questions on like during one of these types of things. So if you have any questions, you can just come to my website. Yeah, just ignore this, like, how can I help, whatever, or general inquiry, whatever. Fill out my form. Let me know what your question is, and I am more than happy to answer any questions that you have about mind mapping. I absolutely love mind mapping. I think it's a great tool, and I think that it can really, really help you out with fleshing out product ideas, fleshing out a business model, fleshing out marketing strategies, content strategies, outlining a book. You can use it to actually write your own books. So that's one of the things that I didn't get into. Actually, let me show that real quick now that I think about that, because that was actually even in the title. So I'm thinking you might have guessed actually what this is going to look like, right? So my book. So here you would have the title. Okay, chapter 1. And you know what? I wouldn't even start with chapters if you want to write a book. So what are the main topics that you want to write about? So you're going to have topic 1, topic 2, topic 3. If you're writing a nonfiction book, you might start off with characters. You know, who are the characters in your book? Well, it's John. We got John here. We got Nancy. Well, John, who's John? Well, he's some neurotic, you know, some neurotic, I don't know, middle-aged dude. Sorry, middle-aged dude. You know, Nancy is an up and coming executive. Yep, John gets the short stick. He's just some whack job over here. You know, Nancy's an up and coming executive. You have, you know, Tiny Tim, from Christmas Stories. Anyway, so right, you got Tiny Tim. So you might flesh out your characters, and then you might start fleshing out. Well, you know, what are the locations that my book might take place in? Well, you know, if you're Stephen King, pretty much everything takes place in Maine, or maybe it's some futuristic, you know, city. Okay, what does that look like? Well, a lot of futuristic stuff seems to have like VR, not even VR or virtual reality or AR. It's like hologram billboards, you know, that talk to you, you know, like creepy stuff like that. That's not really creepy, but you know, if it was talking directly to you, it might be creepy. But anyway, so there you go. You know, so you can start fleshing this stuff out. And so as you then start creating your book, you can start saying, okay, well, now that you start having some more ideas, okay, well, chapter 1, or not even chapter 1. Actually, again, I wouldn't even start with chapter 1. If you're trying to brainstorm writing a book, it would be more like, you know, like John meets Nancy. John meets Nancy. John becomes obsessed. Nancy gets a restraining order. Chaos ensues, right? It becomes like a horror movie all of a sudden. So from here, then you might say, okay, well, chapter 1, right? What's happening in chapter 1? Well, John meets Nancy. And they're like, great. All right, chapter 2. What happens in chapter 2? Right? He goes nuts. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. This actually, maybe it just happens to fall in here. And then you're like, oh, wait, oh, crap. You know, I got to even lay out the scene. So really, chapter 1 shouldn't be this. Chapter 5, really, I got to reorder all the stuff. And you're like, oh, nuggets. So you just come here, start moving stuff back around, and you're like, set the scene. Yeah, set the scene. And so, right, talk about John. Talk about John's life. Talk about Nancy's life. So again, it's not, you know, it's not super specific at all. You're just saying, okay, here are the characters in my book. Here's the locations. And then you start fleshing it out. But you don't necessarily start with chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just start with what it is you want to talk about and start really laying out the flow. And then you can start putting it into more of this really solid pattern itself. Cool. All right. So that is how you might mind map out or start mind mapping out a book. All right, my friends, it is 2 p.m. Eastern. So we have been going at this for about 1 hour. So really appreciate you spending the time with me today. And again, if you have any questions about mind mapping or anything that I might be able to help you out with, let me know. You can reach me at robertwdempsey.com. Just click the little contact button and you'll get to my contact form and go from there. Otherwise, I hope your 2018 is going really well so far. I hope it keeps going super well. And stay tuned for more live online workshops in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. What is happening in 2 weeks? So on February the 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be doing another live online workshop. This one is actually going to be about meditation and some different meditation techniques that I use and that I will teach you. Very simple stuff in order to relax, become relaxed and regain focus. So stay tuned for that. Check out the blog for a little add to calendar link to hop into that one. And that is that. So my friends, adios. Have a great one. And until next time, this is Robert W. Dempsey saying, see you later. Adios.